Honestly, I don't want to buy into politics because politics keeps stealing us away. Politics is breaking our communities. Politics is breaking families. Politics even destroying the very, unit fiber which has to hold us together. So I'm here representing both the Ga and then Babu Wulomo in particular, who is the overlord of the Ga spiritual state. Next time such a thing be organized, Ashantis shouldn't see themselves as defeated. They must see themselves as people who actually opened up the communities that bunched up and fought them. Ashanti must know that they became a light. So they must include whoever they have ever fought in programs such as what we came to experience. The Fantis were there, the Wasa were there, and then the Fetu, who today we call them Cape Coast, they were there. Then Ga and Dangbe were also there. So that very war saw the defeat of the British. And so whoever accompanied the British to the Battle of Nsamanko, broke up. But it opened the eyes of all the parties that fought this very war. Because the whole thing was, the Europeans came to trade. And now they've really come to mess up. They've sold too many of weapons into the hands of people. So whoever gets a weapon becomes superior to the person who is next to him who has not.
Oheneba Media open news papa Oheneba Media and somewhere Koswo Oheneba Media asem papa wo ho Oheneba Media asem kase bi asie Oheneba Media asem pa wo mu oi Oheneba Media asem pa wo mu obi ametie yen
Sefa inchansen papa ya de bodan so paadia enwane adabo roofings and rusty resist heat and afa enfedi so ni color bond material or de bodan so nti omo 25-year guarantee a ema wa rechemu sa wo pe adabo roofings e wo enkrane ne mpatamu afo ani kire of ankoberia mo amwo kumase ene ne mpatamu nso momfo ani kire ehwa overseas junction adabo roofings mo ye samenhia e wo dan boso ampa fre 0248 944 710 Esa your WhatsApp number. Fred Adabov. Nani womuni idwa.
Abusuafo mechia mu na Oheneba Media eso enie menim se obo ade adom obia ehun eye. Yeguzua ya yesua de amamre ene amane nsemu na enchei obefa baabi obetie na yenuanom rantia bi aba abonten ya omo ye nkranfo omo kasa se Katamanso wo omo nkranfo na so gina ye di Asantes&Reveals. Sa kasa no etai koso pa na ya obebusa se Katamanso wo no kra ene ntokwabe na ekoba ne sei ena union kanfo di Asantes&Reveals ena obo ade adawroma yenya odehye kase pa ye ofiri nkranmemu na ote akonya so won kran ememu ha sei eni bedin komo e dia fa Katamanso wo no acheche mu ache dia ko so pote eni ne kura suahunu ya yefa e de afrimo na twi no enhye da enye papenti no eni die mu a obeka no brofo bapoto na yebobo ehomotim bia se owi a yebetimi achem dia ba Asante na won so watibi yanko ne no so entry komo ye na yenti dia oka. So we are still at the Ashanti Regional House of Chiefs at Mantse Palace, and not long ago we also saw what happened while we did a retrospective look into the Katamanso War that we believed was between the Ashantis and of course groups of tribes as well as some whites. We have a very noble man in our midst, and of course during the program you saw him adding a very vital contribution to whatever transpired, which aimed at unity, saying whatever has passed, it's no more. What is ahead of us is something that we should look up to. Let me welcome him officially, ask of his name, then have some one or two interactions with him. Sir, please, you're welcome. This is Oheneba Media.
Thank you very much.
Please, what's your name and then where you are coming from?
My name is Reverend Dr. J.C. Ankra. I am an associate pastor with the Worldwide Miracle Outreach. My president is Dr. Lawrence Tete.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So I'm coming from Accra. We were invited to this very program, which is so laudable. So I'm here representing both the Ga and then Babu Wulomo in particular, who is the overlord of the Ga spiritual state.
Okay.
Yes.
So, in fact, in Cree or in Ashanti over here, the overlord of our spiritual state is a Suman Kwahine. So, I guess that's what you call. You mentioned the name. What's the name again?
Bobu Wulomo.
Bobu Wulomo. Okay.
Yes.
Sir, how do you see the program in general? How do you assess the program?
This very program is an enlightenment. Actually, it's a program that has to be sustained. Why am I saying that? It's more educative. It's more opening to both minds and eyes and ears. And this also is a program that is a unifier, because we live in clans and houses, but we don't get together. But should a program like this be organized, people that form houses, people that form clans under a particular stool can be brought together. They will know each other and they will share their aspirations, so that there can be enhancement and proper development, both physically and spiritually. So I have a heart supporting this very program, and I hope it won't end just here, but it must continue.
Okay. It must continue. We are no more in the era where we fight among ourselves. We are now together as one country with a common goal. There are so many people out there who still have this mindset of division, who still have this mindset of discrimination among each other. Since you are here, and of course you are commending the program, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel throughout all this, what's your word of advice to people out there watching us who still have this primitive mindset of discriminating among each other and not coming together to push our country forward?
Yes, I always say when I have the opportunity that education is what takes out messages across. When I say education, it is not the classroom sort of thing only, but a word from a knowledgeable person, a word from an experienced person, a word from someone who had seen it, heard it, and tried it, will easily influence minds. But if we are not able to tell others about what is happening or what has to be done, they will not know, and they will continue to wallow in their shallow minds. So this very program, like I said before, is something that has to be carried across. The queens that came, the chiefs that came, the intellectuals that came, we all have a stake in this very thing. We have to let it go across. Now, point number 2, we are no more fighting. I mean, what is fighting? When fighting breaks up, it separates us. But when we use our minds and brains, we build ourselves together. So I believe that the next time such a thing be organized, Ashantis shouldn't see themselves as defeated. They must see themselves as people who actually opened up the communities that bunched up and fought them. Ashanti must know that they became a light. So they must include whoever they have ever fought in programs such as what we came to experience, so that we can see ourselves coming together to move our nation forward. What matters is Ghana. But if we try to take ourselves out of our country, where do we go? And if we destroy ourselves, where do we go? We have only one country. We are one people. Like our former head of state, Kutua Champon, said, we have a common destiny. And this is what I will continue to hammer on, so that we become one. I will be glad if the next seminar will bring chiefs from Accra, encourage the chiefs of Accra, so that they also go back and practice the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sir, we are making a very nice argument over here. Please, we are talking to the rep from Ghana, who is also representing the head of the spiritual state of Ghana, also over here. While the program was ongoing, you made a very vital point. I would like you to have time and then take us through it again. When we talk about the Katamanso war, you made a point that it's not just Ashantis who fought with Gans. There were different tribes that came together to fight Ashantis, and you even admitted that if maybe not for the fact that there were a whole lot of groups that came together to fight Ashantis, it would have been a different way. Can you take your time and then take us through history? Which groups came together to join the Gans to fight the Ashantis during the Katamanso?
Now, like the speaker said from the beginning, there had been a war which preceded this very Katamanso war. That war was the Battle of Nsamanko. It was fought in 1824. Now, after the Nsamanko war, one noticed that not only Fantis joined Sir Charles McCarthy, the then governor of the Gold Coast, but the Ahanta were there, the Fantis were there, the Wassa were there, and then the Fetu, who today we call them Cape Coast, they were there. Then Ga and Dangbe were also there. So that very war saw the defeat of the British. And so whoever accompanied the British to the Battle of Nsamanko, broke up and went their various ways.
After the defeat.
After the defeat. But the Ga, they have to go through Cape Coast before they arrive in their place of residence. But when they got to Cape Coast, they realized that the Ashantis had moved towards Elmina. And so if Elmina is taken, then Cape Coast would also be taken, which was then the seat of the administration. So the Ga remained and defended Cape Coast. This annoyed the Asante Hene by then, who was Osei Tutu Kwamena Asebi Bonso. Okay? And so he vowed that he would punish the people of Accra. But on his way, he fell in the Pra River. He was shot by the Asin people. Good. His body was carried to Kumasi. During this very time, his vow of coming to punish the Accra people was taken, because it was like he assessed something that has to manifest. So it was taken by the Ashantis that they will punish the Ga.
They will leave to the words.
Yes, but the Ashantis, 2 years was just too short for them to prepare. Okay, and within this very time, all the Ga, Dangbe, that came to help in the Nsamanko war were also preparing, and there were many. And like I said, the war at Katamanso. Let me tell you the tribes that came together. The Ga were there. Akwamu crossed the Volta and came. Then Achimabu Akwa. Their leader then was Nana Dokua. Achimabu Akwa came. The Fantis, who today we call them Abora or Abola in central Accra, also came. And then the Dutch, they were occupying their fort, which today we call Osha Fort, but the Dutch called this very fort Fort Krefko. They sent representatives or armed personnel. Then the British by then were in the James Fort in Jamestown. They sent representatives. Then the Danes, they had lots of forts from Osu to Teshin, and then they had another one also at Ningo and one at Adan. They also sent representatives. They all came with weapons, okay? But the British introduced a particular kind of weapon which was described as the concrete, weapon. It was a weapon that fires rockets, and when it explodes, people die a lot. They weren't dragging the heavy cannons those days, but they brought this very one, and it was, a disturbing situation for the Ashantis. So look at all these people that came to fight Ashanti, right? So were the Ga to be the only people facing Ashanti someone will say head to head, boot for boot, it would have been a disaster for the Ghanaian people. So this very war, to us, it wasn't a defeat of Ashanti, but it opened the eyes of all the parties that fought this very war. Because the whole thing was, the Europeans came to trade, and now they've really come to mess up. They've sold too many of weapons into the hands of people. So whoever gets a weapon becomes superior to the person who is next to him who has not. And so this made rather the country to be so porous for attacks. That was one. We are saying no more war. No more tribal war. This is the message that people carried from the Battle of Dodowa or Katamanso. What we need today is let us get ourselves together and build. That is it.
That's a very nice education. I've really loved it. I'm sure those watching us have also loved it. In fact, he is from Accra. He's representing the head of the spiritual state of Ghana, of course, the Bobu Ulomo. And I like your final words. We are no more fighting. Unity is key. So it's time we all come together and push Mother Ghana forward. So thank you very much once again for your time. We are very grateful. We are very grateful. So that's where we draw the curtains for today's program. And we wish, and I hope you also watching me would take some lessons from it. There is no more fight. Unity is what is needed. Abusunya opinion and kasa yi. The TNS say and you made the course or Ashanti Regional House of Chiefs and oba ABC okon hene ya ono ne basunsumu nsemo a spiritual situations na oda no anan na ene wakasa wose Katamanso wo entokwa bia ba betwa mukuro bia ewu hia se yebekoso atena entokwa mu se sia ewiase konanim enka wo mu ne hia empuntuo ne hia ti na ye nka mom se nipa ba ko ni djuma de bebo aye man no and I for sa kire mu de fa Katamanso wo no se nya asante ene ye nuanom nkan fon ko na ekonye na mom ye nuanom achim ebu akwa emfante ene aman hodo aka dodo na akwamu abrofo afa bebre no abeka ye nuanom nkan fon ne asante kon ye nti ekoba nsa ti ye mfa bi na ye mfa mo bra nsi antokwa bia ho hia ba ko ye ena ehia edi nyina besi wa ase ebrepam ye behia nyame nka ho na monso a moye amanyosem moye amanyosem politicians near the day so we are done, but I want to ask something. One of the very institutions that's dividing our country as of now is politics. What's your say on that too?
Honestly, I don't want to buy into politics because politics keeps stealing us away. Politics is breaking our communities. Politics is breaking families. Politics even destroying the very, unit fiber which has to hold us together. So you bring party politics into the main. People call politics to be bringing development, but I don't see politics bringing development. Politics must bring teaching to the minds of the people. Look, if you teach the people how to hold themselves and have skills, they can develop. But now everybody is waiting for the politician to come and clean the gutter, the politician to come and then, remove the refuse. We make all these problems. But if we are taught to be able to do these cleaning exercises, it will help us. Schools. Look at the vast lands that some schools are occupying. Yes, still they cry of hunger. Can't these vast lands be turned into gardens or farms to help feed the schools? Now fish is also farmed, so can they do fish farming? Some of these things politicians must teach us to know of these. They travel overseas, they have the opportunity to travel overseas, so when they go overseas they see the developments there. Can't they bring the development into our country? You see how the thing is like. So it's like they travel out only for pleasure, but not bringing us something that can help develop us. This is what I see about politics. I do not support politics to be introduced into communities. I don't support that. Now,
But one would say that without politics, how can we have leaders who are going to mind the affairs of our states and, of course, our country as well?
You know the problem with politicians? Politics is a profession. You must be trained before you hold a political position. Okay. But here is a case. People who have money go to stand the polls and they win. And straight away they are members of parliament. They go to parliament, they don't even know the parliamentary procedures. They have to go to school again. So something that you don't have experience of, how can you be given a position and be able to work well? And it's like politics has been seen as the quickest way of amassing wealth, because they can use any paper whatsoever to take a property. You know, they can prove me wrong, because what I'm saying, I have facts. Okay? They can use any paper whatsoever to take a property, because they take it to be an executive instrument or a legislative instrument, and the property is gone. You can't challenge them.
Nothing that could be done about it. It's very true. I agree with you that it's time we look into our political settings. Thank you very much for your time. Our greetings to the people of Ghana. Would surely come together and push Mother Ghana forward. We are grateful once again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Having me on your program.
Okay, sir. Right. Okay. We will draw the curtains for today's show some other time. Goodbye.
Oheneba Ejeni Makuni, the CEO of Oheneba Media. Menuanom Ghana for ehunu bi penti sa wo discuss beko akomo abusuafo ana wo de beko akoto account mu Ghana emfansi obia so sese de tap send ya na obia eyusu na wo de send discuss so a enye de ne kra eno anse wafa wo mobile phone no akọ Play Store ana App Store no download tap app na go mobile phone so kayo sa wo de send discuss no a edru bia obubusa so promo code ya de eno ane sa wo de Oheneba keka show obema £5 ana €5 aka osika More America and Canada ne de wubenya $10 Oheneba keke ni ade ma manage ho kra ne se obo osika ho ban ma untua interest bia o send so a sibika kra bi na akoto mobile wallet so ana o bank account e wo Ghana entimi nuanom Ghana fo am wo Europe UK Canada and America tap send ya no bia fan send diska isan se Oheneba Ejeni Makon me ne mabusua ya gia tum dada tap send papa no
Pasempa biatia Oheneba Media open news papa Oheneba Media and somewhere koso Oheneba Media asempapa wo ho Oheneba Media asem kase bi asie Oheneba Media asempa wo mu Oheneba Media asempa wo mu obi ametie yen